Great. Leslie, watching Free Speech TV in Central Square, New York. You are on the air with Congressman Mark Pocan.
Hi, Mr. Pocan. My name is Leslie Dean, and we have a big problem with the FCC. If the FCC was doing this job, you guys in the Democratic Party would be winning, okay? First of all, they ran Trump for 2 years straight, you might as well say, 24/7, 700 days, and a little bit of Hillary and very little Bernie, and that's wrong. There shouldn't be an FCC if they aren't going to do their job. It's supposed to be equal, you know. And you guys between Reagan and Clinton and Obama destroyed the fairness doctrine. I mean, if you guys had the fairness doctrine in, you guys wouldn't be losing at all. But Obama didn't put it in. He had a chance to. He doesn't want to. That tells me that the Democratic Party doesn't want truth coming out either. I mean, if you had a fairness doctrine, there would be no Rush Limbaugh, be no Hannity, be no Jones.
There would, Leslie. Actually, just a point of fact, there still would be Limbaughs and Hannitys, and me, for that matter. It's just that what the FCC said was two things. Number one, if a station put out an editorial, and I worked in radio back in the 70s, I'm very familiar with this. If a station put out an editorial position, they had to provide space for the other side to rebut it, only if it was the voice of the station, number one. And number two, that stations, radio and television stations, had to do what's called programming in the public interest, which was interpreted to mean, in a small way, things like local PSAs, hey, there's going to be a bake sale at the school this week. But the bigger thing was actually providing real news. And that's why all the big networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of them lost money on their news operations until after the Telecommunications Act, or excuse me, until after the Fairness Doctrine was blown out of the water in 87, excuse me. And by the end of 87, all three networks, or maybe 88, all three networks had moved their news divisions under their entertainment divisions, and we were thrown into the world of infotainment. So with that, Leslie, thank you for the call. Congressman Pocan, your thoughts?
Yeah, Tom, thanks for explaining that. And I think what Leslie's saying is correct, right? I mean, with not having the Fairness Doctrine has made it so that news doesn't get the same priority that it used to, and now we've got an administration that's trying to rewrite things to facts and alternative facts and fake news, and now they're trying to further destroy people having information and facts. Instead, you just have to go to Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity to get your information here on the right, which, as we know, isn't really information. That's really well, that is the fake news that's out there. So Leslie's right. We should be doing everything we can to try to get back to a place where we had a fairness doctrine, where we had a balance of ideas that were out there and an emphasis on real news.
Yeah. In the meantime, what has happened is that, right-wing wealthy people, Rupert Murdoch, for example, and, the owners of several radio networks have just bought up all these properties all over the country. Do you see any possibility that the Sherman Act will be reinforced with regard to media?
Again, with this Congress, I don't see those things happening, unfortunately. But there's a lot of reforms we need to do if we can take back our House of Representatives, our Senate, and our White House.
On the Middays with Mark here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Jeff in Sharpsburg, Georgia, listening on Sirius XM. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Tom. Thank you, Congressman Pocan. I really appreciate taking my call. I just had two quick questions. The first one is, they're both about the air traffic system. What are your thoughts on the privatization, and if it's good or bad for the FAA system? And also, is Congress really aware of the staffing crisis that the air traffic control system is in right now? Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you. First of all, no, I don't support privatization. Most of the big airlines, although I may be wrong on this, I believe Delta may be the outlier on this, want this because, of course, they can figure out how to monetize it and make it so they can make even more profit if it goes that way. This is a public safety, a public good, and I think privatization would be a very bad idea. And on the staffing crisis, I know those of us who talk to the folks who work in those centers certainly know that what's going on, and that we've got to make sure that we're addressing that as well. One other issue I'd mention too, I think that we've got to deal with is this competition from these highly subsidized airlines from overseas trying to come in and get space. and that's going to hurt some of the folks who are working for the companies that we have here. So there's a number of fronts right now. We're waiting to see what exactly will happen under the Trump administration, but I think this effort to privatize would be counterproductive for consumers in the end.
Joe in Pompano Beach, Florida. Hey, Joe, thanks for listening to Sirius XM. You're on with Congressman Pocan.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen, and I won't be long. I just keep the issue was raised at different times that why can't healthcare insurance companies rather compete between different states throughout our whole country, i.e., I could buy insurance from Geico from California or throughout our whole country, as well as any other auto insurer for all of us. Yet, right now, that doesn't even get addressed in any of the legislation being put forth. And to me, it seems like it would be better for competition, and maybe health costs be lowered for people that really need it more so than others, say.
Yeah, Congressman, I'm confused by this. We had health insurance with, I don't want to name the company, but we had with them in Portland. Well, United Healthcare provided us with health insurance in Portland and here in D.C. We've also had it with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which I used to have back in Michigan. It seems to me like all these companies are selling their products in every state right now.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, the studies have shown that there's not a savings out of this. This is one of those talking points that we've seen put out there because it sounds like common sense, right? Why wouldn't you be able to buy outside your state lines? The problem is some states have different requirements on the health insurance, and people could then just be buying the lowest possible common denominator of a health policy, and that doesn't necessarily solve the health insurance side, and we're being told it actually won't really solve the cost side either. So while it's one of those things I think that's easy to put out there and it sounds extremely reasonable, the reality is it doesn't provide cost savings and would reduce the level and quality of health care if it actually was opened up.
Right, and Geico does tweak their car insurance policies from state to state to comply with state insurance commissioner policies. So even though they're selling nationwide, just like United Healthcare and Blue Cross and Aetna and everybody else, they do offer actually different plans from state to state.
I think ultimately if people are looking for cost savings, you look at something like Medicare for All single payer because you take away so many of the areas where money is wasted from marketing to administration to profit and other areas.
Yeah, and that would be true across state lines. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama, you are on with Congressman Pocan.
Good afternoon. I want to know if our representatives and our senators actually have stock in these health insurance companies. Is this the reason why we cannot have a public auction or expand Medicare because they're more concerned with their quarterly dividends?
Yeah, Norma, I'm sure a lot of people probably, if not direct purchase of stock, may have it through, some consolidated plans that they're investing in. The thing is, though, I honestly don't think that is the biggest indicator. I just think the fact that so many insurance companies have so many lobbyists and put so much money into political campaigns that's what gets the attention, right? I mean, the people who fund your campaigns, when it's that kind of dollars and that kind of power through that, I think that's what's making people vote against their constituents. I don't think it's necessarily the stock side of things, from what I can tell in my conversations with people and from what I can see. So I think it has more to do with the political end of the work of some of the big insurance companies and for that matter, big pharma and others as well.
Gary in Irvine, California. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman. I wanted to talk about the wall. You really don't need a wall. The problem is that they let these people come across and give them jobs. If you prosecute the companies that allow illegal aliens to come in and work, if you stop that and you enforce that law, then I think that you really don't need a wall.
Yeah, but that would involve putting rich white employers in jail rather than poor people of color. Congressman?
Yeah, that's not nearly as much on talking point for the Republicans, is it? No, Gary, what you say is right. If we had actually the employers followed the law, that would solve much of the problem. I would argue, though, the whole premise that people are rushing across the border to come here isn't true and hasn't been true for quite some time. So we're dealing with a fallacy that really deals more with, for many, just their fear of people who have a different color of skin than anything else. So I don't even like to give them the fallacy that there's this bleeding somehow into the United States to do this. However, if you really wanted to address what they claim is the concern, Gary, you're right. You could have employers actually following the law, and that would take care of things.
Congressman, we have just in the neighborhood of a minute before the end of the hour. Your thoughts on the coming week and what we should be looking for, what we should be doing?
Yeah, so this is the last week before we leave for 5 weeks for the August recess. So things to look for: health care still on the Senate side. I think there'll still probably be some last-minute attempt possible. And then on the House side, we're doing this first mini omnibus bill, which will have the wall funding and those issues, as well as potentially some sanction bills, and it's not clear yet what they could be. So this is an important week to watch for and call your member of Congress and your senator, because a lot of activity will happen because people are going to go home and they want to, pound on their chest they did something, because let's face it, for the first 6 months of the year, we haven't done anything. So watch it. It's going to be an active, fast week, and we need to be vigilant to be on top of things to defeat really bad ideas.
And the number for Congress, if you want to call your member of Congress, is 202-224-3121. And Congressman, a lot of people have been complaining that Republicans are simply not answering their phones right now. What do you do?
Send them an email, because still that gets in and gets counted as a contact. So if they're playing that game and they just don't have enough people to answer the phones, because more people are active and calling, send that email. If you send a letter, they may not get it for 3 weeks to Washington because it has to be screened for ricin and other things. Send an email.
Yeah. What about contacting local districts?
Contact the local district office. They'll keep contact. The contacts get counted there as well, and sometimes those phones are easier to get through. That's
great. Congressman Mark Pocan, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, congressman representing Wisconsin. Pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
Always great talking. We'll be back.